Aloha, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Optimize Your Na'au, where today we have the honor of physically being with Dina Kaniho, who is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, energy shifter, high healer, and our really good friend that we have been doing our retreats here at Na'apono. And we're going to have another one coming up, and we will announce that. In today's conversation, we're going to talk so much about healing, the ugliness of it, the perspective that it feels good, it usually doesn't. And we talk about some of the layers that we have to kind of go through in order to get to the other side of it. We talk about choices of doing nothing or making change in your life. And we talk about choosing to live.
Yes.
And embodying the word living. And if that is something that you're interested in, then please listen to our very beautiful and magical conversation with all of her wisdom and knowledge that she has so helped us with through so many parts of our life. Without further ado, this is our conversation with Dina Kaniho.
Optimize Your Na'au podcast is produced by us here at Na'apono Wellness and edited by Jaren Kobashigawa of Tangible Memories. Subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram to discover more stories about healing connections and healing innovations. Aloha. Aloha, everybody. Welcome to Optimize Your Na'au podcast. I am David, and this is Dara once again.
Aloha.
And today we have a special guest joining us once again. This is a part 2, if you will. Dina Kaniho. She's a certified clinical hypnotherapist, energy shifter, high healer, and retired RN.
Thank you so much for joining us again, Dina. You know, when we're so honored because when she's at home, we get to physically hug her and experience her and reconnect. Because again, you know, you folks can go back to our part 1 with her husband, Steve Kaniho.
That was awesome.
There in Tennessee. Yes, that was an awesome one. You want to learn about connection, about what it's like to go through life with a life partner and all the ups, downs, uglies, terribles, yes.
The in-betweens.
The in-betweens, pivots, all of that. That was a really, really good one about connection. But today we are going to talk about her work and Dina as a modality. We've been doing retreats with Dina. She's been doing, you know, the hypnotherapy, the energy shifting, the energy healing in our retreat. And it's been just such profound impacts on everyone who's attended.
Me included.
Me included too. You know, and it's always an experience. But I want to talk about, you know, her work today because that's kind of the questions that we've been getting. Like, what the hell is hypnotherapy? Is it different from hypno meditation? Is it different from hypno exploration? So I'm going to turn it to Dina and we're going to talk all about that. And then we can also share our experience with, you know, how we met. Maybe we should start there. So, you know, how we met was, I want to say it's like over the course of 10 years. That's a long story.
Yeah.
We kept seeing each other, never physically came together, never spoke to each other, but just would see each other over like distances. And I knew her face, didn't know her name. When we finally connected on a phone call, and it was because my client came in for her appointment. She's like, oh my God, I just had the best. She called it an energy healing session. And I was like, oh, what is that? Because honest to God, I'd never done that before. But immediately I was like, I need to do that. And so she gave me your number and we connected. And you said you heard my name, but didn't know my face. Right. And then I knew your face.
Because there were several of my clients who came to me, and meaning at the time I was only doing distance sessions. I wasn't seeing people in my space at that time, that I had known, you know, over the course of years, who would come to you to get their facial done. And I had actually a not so great experience with a facial. So I was like, nope, not doing that ever again until I met your magic hands and trying to figure out how I'm going to get a facial before I leave. But that's a side note. magic hands.
We can make that happen. But yes, so she walked into our door at the shop and I was like, oh my God, that's the lady that I've literally been seeing for the last 10 years.
Well, do you remember telling me that Steve and I showed up at Mariposa where David was
playing
music?
She was literally on the next table. And this was just a few months before we met.
Before we connected.
But at the time, like our daughter was 3, so she was still potty training. And I remember I stood up and I told the kids, I want to go say hi to this lady, right? So they got to come with me. And my daughter stood up and she was like, I got to go to the bathroom. So I was like, okay. So I took her to the bathroom. I came back and she and Steve are gone. And I was like, no, not again.
Vanished. And I still remember that day because we were doing, what were we doing that day? I just remember I was not dressed for Mariposa. No, I came in like t-shirt and because we were actually doing some like outreach.
Yes.
And we were in the sun, you know, like we were at like the Capitol and I said, I need AC and a good meal. And we ended up strolling into Mariposa, not dressed for Mariposa. So when you told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, I know I wasn't dressed. I know I wasn't, you know, and it was like one of those things. And you said, you just vanished. And I was like, yeah, because it was like eat and run.
Yeah. Eat and run.
Yeah.
So that's how we met. And so you mentioned your distance session. That's my first experience with Dina, our first experience with Dina. And since then we have done it individually. We've also done it together. So I'm going to turn it over to Dina and I'm going to let her explain what even a distance session is and how that even came about. Because that's something that's super unique to you.
That is something that actually I love doing still till this day. It's my go-to. It is what I recommend for any new client. But then also we do it from time to time when we feel like sometimes there's something that's difficult that needs to come through, or sometimes, you know, we don't have, you know, we might go like a couple months where we're not really engaging. Right. And then it's like, okay, this is our opportunity to revisit what's happening in your energy without letting the ego get involved. Because that is really what a distance, and it's gone through different names. We're currently calling it a distance energy shift, right? Versus healing, because I have come to understand and know that through this type of session, the healing takes place on the client's side of the energy. In, say, like a Reiki session, which, you know, I'm Reiki certified. That's one of the certifications that I did early on. And I do, you know, love tapping into that energy. But what I do now, I feel like we can reach our destination or what we're trying to accomplish faster through allowing your subconscious, right? So using our hypnotherapy techniques to just guide the subconscious mind to where it needs to go. So a little bit different than me being the practitioner and guiding you the whole time and telling you, do this, do that, right? Letting your energy speak and share, because energy, whether we're in the same room, whether we're miles and miles away, if we're on the phone, if we're on Zoom or in our distant session, we don't have contact at all, right? So in a distant session, the way that I do it, and I don't really know of any practitioners. I know that they do like distance Reiki, but this type of distance energy shift is through the vibration of the music that we share. So as you folks know, I send you music, you listen to it, I listen to it on on my side, and there's no connection whatsoever in terms of like how we think of physical connection, talking, looking at each other, being in the same vicinity. And from there, just really letting the messages come through from your energy, from your guides, right? Or your team of light, as I like to call it. Letting my team of light talk to your team of light and what comes through. So through that session, I'll let you guys speak about what you have experienced on that side, because you've shared it with me, but I think it's most authentic if you can share it. But on my side, what really comes through is not only messages where people say, okay, there's, like you're channeling a message. I get messages through my body. So my left arm is tingling or my right foot is itchy. And these messages I've come to know to mean different things. And then when I'm for myself, but when I'm working with someone else, then what else is happening in that time? What are the thoughts that are coming in? Am I seeing a number across the room? Is there a color that is, and it's just, everything just shows up in perfect timing. And that's the message that gets relayed. So as you are listening to the music, I'm listening to the music, I'm voice recording the whole thing. And I don't do, some people say, can you do a video recording? I don't do a video recording because sometimes I'm moving around.
Yeah.
I mean, I have had sessions where I'm sitting in a birthing position because someone is having a hard time birthing new ideas. And so that's not so cute on a video, but I can relay what I'm experiencing on an audio. So that's, in a nutshell. And I know it's kind of a long explanation, but some things are not simple when you're trying to describe what's happening,
absolutely. That was a perfect explanation. I mean, and I think, when we first did our distance session, we had no idea what to expect. And it really didn't come together until the recording came through.
Yeah.
Right. Because even in the meditation, and this is my personal experience. I'm like, am I doing this right? Like, I'm just supposed to be doing nothing. But that's, and that's the point. That's the point.
Yeah, that's the point.
Right. Is just allowing when those of us, who are so used to like pushing through, breaking through, doing, getting it done. And
or even wanting it to be perfect.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Always striving.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're taught, right? By society to strive for perfection. But in something like a distance session, you're just allowing and being instead of trying to do something or be something.
Yeah. And it really was so transformational because at the time that we met you, and I've been a little bit more open about this experience. David and I went on a live last week. You can check that out where I didn't even know that this experience was going to come out, but and I'm just taking it as like it's time for me to share my story. But we were going through a really tough time with my family where I made a decision to cut all connection from my mother, my father, and my brother. And it was so difficult. It was difficult in so many ways where, first of all, it felt unnatural because, I mean, that's my mother, my father, and my brother, right? And there were things that were being revealed, but my subconscious was revealing. My conscious is like, no, Dara, that's not how you're supposed to think of your family.
Yeah.
Right. But then my subconscious was, warning signs, red flags, all these things. And I literally felt like I was going crazy, and I really needed help. I didn't know what kind of help I needed at the time. And that distance session was transformational. And
I think what unfolded after that, because when I'm doing the distance session, I don't recall everything that's coming. Like if you played it back, I wouldn't have not remembered any of what I shared. So when we started working in person and things started to unfold, it didn't even dawn on me how deep the roots of
It didn't dawn on me either.
Right.
Until we
it
started
was
working
just
together.
started, to unfold. So as I'm like listening to you say this, I literally don't recall that. Like when you folks presented, it was like, hey, we want to try this, because we're so used to putting up the facades. Like we're okay, we're good, we're professionals, right? Because we all have our, our society face that we put on. So as we started to do the work, right? And when I say the work, it's whatever is meant to happen for us so that we can shift, right? And transform. And as we've been working together for years now, and when I work with people, I also transform, right? It's not just I'm helping you guys.
Yeah.
It's just, the circle of life,
synergy.
right?
Yeah.
And as we started to get deeper into the work, I started coining the phrase like, this is the ugly work, because people think of energy work as laying on a table and somebody putting their hands over them. And that is energy work.
Correct.
It's a version of energy work. And as I do that, like I can feel, right? I can feel the energy in my hands. And yes, we're transferring energy for the purpose of transformation and feeling better. But that's not the only version of it. Sometimes it's ugly. Sometimes it feels painful.
Very painful.
Super
and uncomfortable. You don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And you don't want to face it. And sometimes we don't. We compartmentalize it and we put it away. Or when we start to realize, something that I think you guys have also benefited from is the physical frequency work that I, started to do. And it was a gift through a painful experience, actually. It was a medical, not emergency, but it was a medical transformation for me where this gift was brought forth. And as we start to feel how we hold energy, emotions, or energy and motion in our body, how real that is. Like people don't realize that this is, an underlying cause of disease or imbalance in the body. It first starts in energy and then it starts to present itself physically. So, starting with the distance sessions, moving now more into balancing the physical, acknowledging that energy is real and it affects our physical being because we're physical beings, right? But we're also energetic beings. And we're not taught really that we're both. Society teaches us we're physical beings, do the thing that society wants us to do. And then the energy community tells us to sometimes ignore the physical, pour everything into the energy part, and then our physical starts to deteriorate. And, more and more, I've been really working in this space of bringing both and collaborating on both so that we can really just live to the best of, our ability in this place, in this time, and then share that with others.
Absolutely. I mean, what I think all of us can not, maybe not all of us can admit it, but so many of us are just getting by. We're not living. And when we say like energy healing and energy shifting, there's like a nice, like, oh, that sounds good. But, you're absolutely right, is sometimes you gotta drag yourself through the hell again in order to get out on the other side on a different part, right? And does that make sense, right? And you were talking about the physical and the spiritual, and we were talking about that where, we learned like you have 4 tires on a car, right? And one could represent your mental, your spiritual, your emotional, your physical. And if one tire is low or whatever, the other 3 are going to have to compensate or adjust or recalibrate, right? And that's just not what I wanted to do anymore.
It's not
Mhm.
efficient.
Then after the distance session, we went more into your hypnotherapy, your hypno exploration, which I thought was really neat because it was for the first time we did that together
Mhm.
as a couple. And it was so interesting because I remember one of our first sessions of doing that, I could see what he couldn't see about him, and he
Mhm.
could see what I couldn't see about myself. And I thought that was like, I mean, it blew my mind.
It still blows my mind. When people say, "How come you're so surprised?" And my answer is, when it stops surprising me, I think I'm not going to do it anymore. Because that's the thing that I love the most is to those aha moments where, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't see for myself. And, Steve might see it for me.
Yes.
Or sometimes someone will mirror it. Sometimes it might be a client, or maybe it's a family member. And I'm like, whoa, and because people think like, oh, if we all have our gifts, right? All of us, even people who are not even into this, they don't even believe that energy is real. I mean, at this point in time, if you still don't believe energy healing or shifting is real, there's so much science behind it.
So many resources.
There's so many resources.
Absolutely.
I would say look beyond what you see on TV. Turn the TV off.
Yeah.
Sit with yourself. Just take your pulse, right? Take your pulse after you get out of the rat race. You take yourself out. Sit in nature and then take your pulse again. If you cannot see that just that shift in the energy frequency around you changed how you physically feel in your body, then you can tell me energy is not real, because it's so real.
Yes, it is real. And I think that brings up another point, right? In the work that we've already done for ourselves and, how far we've come with working with others, right? Like us at Naopono, you with your imbalance
Yes.
with insight services, is that really it is not our responsibility to convince people that this works. Honest to God, all 3 of us did this work because we needed solutions for ourselves, right? And what I've learned through that is you always have there's always like two very big choices. You either do nothing, means you stay where you are, or you change. And to be honest, sometimes the doing nothing is really fucking hard because if you didn't like the last 5 or 10 years of your life, well, then that's going to be the next 5 or 10 years of your life. And that, to me, I would just rather not live,
Take me out.
Yeah.
But and then it is scary to go down the other road where you're like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. Like, we get it, right?
I can't see, because we can't foresee. And there's a reason for that, right? Faith is something that is vital when we need to change, because we can't see what we don't understand or don't know. But when we start to learn to trust, when we start to learn to tap into our intuition, our physical frequency, our bodies tell us, this is not good for you. Don't go down, right? Don't walk down that.
Well, because the brain doesn't have something to draw from.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So it's like, wait. Before we do this, I need to like have a resource or something to draw from so I can guide you. But it can't.
It can't, right? Because when we talk about the subconscious mind as our Rolodex, if you will, if it doesn't have a reference, like you said, then you're not going to understand what's going to happen next. That's when you tap into your intuition, your knowing, right? In order to tap into that, in order to really become acquainted with her, like your higher self, you have to be in balance. Has to be a balance somewhat. Your physical body needs to be strong. You need to be nourishing it with the right nutrition. Your mind should be clear. And it's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Imperfectly perfect is what we're striving for. But when you give your body and your mind and your spirit the right tools, right? Good nutrition, quiet, fresh air, your body starts to give you the signals more clearly so that you can trust. And then from there, everything starts to flow. Me being here was not a plan a few months ago. It all unfolded through a conversation. And then I was shown, okay, if this, then that. Okay. Everybody is given that opportunity. But when we're too married to agendas that, somebody else has for us, or, oh my gosh, I have to be this way because society tells me that I'm only successful and productive if I'm the RN, right? If I'm the physical therapist that works in the hospital versus having my own wellness center, like all these kinds of things that we're shown, we're told, even when it comes to family, you have to be a certain way, right? You're a daughter. That means you respect mom, dad, and your siblings, right? We're taught that. I mean, being from Hawaii, it's special and it's very difficult because the connections that we make and what we're taught is our kuleana, right? Is to always take care of family, always put others first. If you put yourself first, you're selfish. I've had to undo all of that for myself because those thoughts were the things that were really killing me, so to speak. It killed my spirit because that told me that even if I was being disrespected by a family member, then I needed to take that, eat it, suck it up. And in the meantime, all I was doing is building up negative energy in my body. I look like the bad guy when, like you, I disassociated myself from my family so that I could come back into my own alignment and then teach them by way of boundaries what I accepted. That's the only way I could heal myself because prior to that, I was living for everybody else. I was doing for everybody else. And that wasn't healthy for me, my husband, my children, So, yeah, we just went from one thing to another. But I mean, you can see how all pieces of the puzzle start to fit together when we start coming back to our truth, ourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up a really good point about intuition, which by the way, all of us have.
Correct.
Okay. And it's the trusting, you have it, but somewhere along the line, like, you maybe it wasn't accepted, right? Somebody was saying that it was crazy. And I bring that up because, me meeting you, deciding to do the distance session actually helped him to validate his intuition and his gifts, which, you are extremely gifted. And I don't know if you want to speak upon that, where, me starting to do my own inner work helped you to validate.
Well, I think it's an ongoing process with us as human beings wanting to validate, what we're feeling, what we're experiencing. And it's nothing to feel extremely shame about, just needing that validation. But
absolutely.
It's almost like this inner child, right? That wants to make sure that we have this somewhat of an approval, right? But, tapping into all of the experiences that I've went through personally, but also together as a couple, to discover, what kind of gifts do we have, to bring to the table to elevate ourselves as human beings and offer ourselves our best version of ourselves to, in our in our realm of our clients, our patients,
Mm-hmm.
or even just people that we choose to connect with. And you know, I can be very, very, cranial, analytical, at times, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I second that.
But
And there's nothing wrong with that.
no, and
No.
I think that was something that developed out of a defense mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
um, mainly because I didn't trust it completely because of what was being told to me that really didn't exist, even though I saw it
Mm-hmm.
or I felt it, and it may be on different planes, right? But I know what I saw and I know what I felt. Um, and it keeps coming back to me in so many different versions. And um, what's if we kind of take a moment to tap into what you said earlier, with the distance sessions, it I mean, from the first experience with you, it created a validation on my end on a lot of the things that I could be feeling and someone else can be feeling at the same time. And I visualize the distance sessions as kind of like, for those of us that know what these are, walkie talkies,
Yeah.
right? Right.
Yes. Or I can take you even further back. We can go with the
CB radio.
solo cups. Solo cups and the string.
No, but the reason I say that is because the tuning in using the same music is just brilliant because it's the same mechanism of what happens when you're dialing into the same channel on this walkie-talkie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I like that.
If that helps you paint a picture, that's literally what's happening, and it's science.
Mm-hmm.
And these are things that have been proven a long time ago, but just because we can't see it, right? Radio frequencies are a real thing, obviously, right? But this is no different in regards to energy. And as research goes on and on about quantum energy and quantum entanglement, there's no mistake like that we can feel what we're feeling or even seeing what we're seeing if we choose to open ourselves up to it. And so this is where my mind goes, the analytical part, but at the same time, connecting that element with the intuitive part can be extremely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped me to develop myself as not just a human being, but as a healthcare professional, a healer in that manner, but also, me as a musician on the artistic end, and developing my, myself as, as a recording artist or a musician, right? And, to help to open up all these different sides of me that I felt like I had to choose only one.
Yep.
Right?
You did. And you would go.
I would go on polar.
You would go, it's almost. Like, okay, now I'm a musician
right.
and I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket.
Correct.
Okay, now I'm this wellness doctor, right? Okay, I'm going to put all my eggs, but we have so many facets to ourselves, and we're all like multidimensional, multi-talented. I even had people tell me before, like, you do this and you do this. Yeah. In some respect, it's all connected, right? Natural aloha and in balance, it's connected. One is very physical, but it led me to understand why people have these skin conditions, right?
Yeah.
Because what they're putting in and on their body, in their mind is not in alignment with who they are. And therefore they're having these, outbreaks on their skin or hormonal disruption, right? So we don't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
We can be all at the same time. And when we are, like, when all of that clicks, it's magic.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I mean, when we sit in a room and we talk about something and we all get chicken skin at the same time.
Yeah.
That's
a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Energy shift.
Yeah. And that's really, that's why we created the retreats that we created, which, you as our energy healer shifter, which, I'm just going to paint a picture real quick. So, when you come to our retreats, you're going to get your own private session. It's usually a 40-minute session with Dina, as well as Carrie. We will have her on the podcast soon here in the future, who does EFT tapping. And then David, Luana, and I are out in, our biohacking area doing, the hyperbaric chamber, because like Dina was saying, our physical is just as important as our emotion. But when you are doing this sometimes very ugly, hard work, your physical gets depleted. Like I remember one of our first personal development seminars, we did a Psi seminar. It was 7 days long. Like it was long.
That's long.
It was intense.
I've never done a 7-day.
Yeah.
Like my max has been like maybe 4 or 5.
We were there physically together. We didn't have any we couldn't talk to each other.
We saw each other.
Right. We saw each other.
But we couldn't
and we were
hold
like
hands. We couldn't
literally going through our own individual shit.
Yeah.
And that's intense though, especially if you folks are so used to being able to
be comforted by each other. Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, like that, this is my rock, this is my comfort, this is my sage. But I would have loved to have an ability to jump into a hyperbaric chamber, or get on a pulse or
even have some sort of option for a nutrition that can feed,
absolutely,
the energy. So even on that end, and we provide some, some snacks on the side that help to provide a little
snacks
bit of energy
and teas and lots of
that
water,
are healthy, of course.
Yes,
and taste good.
Yes.
Of course, like it has to taste good because otherwise, what's the point?
Right.
Yes. We're all about living.
Yeah,
we're all about living here,
and enjoying all spectrums, not just one side.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So we already have our next retreat coming up, which we'll announce the date. It's probably going to be, like on the cusp of winter, spring. We actually have some really exciting things that we're all going to be working on together. So you definitely have to watch our Instagram and we'll keep you posted with all of our events. Do you want to talk a little bit about your other parts? So we talked a lot about your energy work, right? And then but we didn't really talk about the physical part, like the teas and things. So, do you want to say a little bit about that?
So actually, before I went full on into energy work, it was my higher self's way of helping me to progress to where I am today, right? Because I started off very physical as a nurse. Let me take care of this, right? I was in orthopedics and I was a wound care nurse. So it was, let me take care of your physical being. As a wound care nurse, I saw the opportunity that we missed to help the body heal, from all kinds of skin issues, without putting chemicals on our bodies. Natural Aloha was born actually because my own physical body broke down years ago. So 2012, 2013, it's kind of started in 2008. I was noticing things and I was really pouring myself into my own natural medicine and biohacking, but biohacking wasn't a word back then, right? I mean, there were some companies that would mention, oxidative stress,
correct,
right? And it wasn't like a big buzzword like it is now. But I really had to put my own health and wellness at the forefront, healing my body through nutrition because I was sick, you guys. Like I couldn't get out of bed. I ended up quitting my job because the stress level was just crazy. And Natural Aloha was born from that. So Natural Aloha is my body company. A lot of people would know me as the pit bomb lady.
Yeah.
That's what
I've heard that before.
Yeah, people are like, "Is that the pit bomb lady?" And it's like, okay, I'm pit bomb lady, and I'm good with that. So some of the products that I started making, well, actually all of the products, including the teas, are all very personal to me because I have created all of these products for myself when I was struggling through, we had Whole Foods already. We had Down to Earth here in Hawaii, but some of the products were missing the mark. They were expensive. They didn't work. That's why Pit Balm, was developed. Some of the tea blends that are out there, it's like, okay, well, I need this one and this one and this. And I was putting 3 tea bags and I wasn't getting, So it was like, okay, that means start to create your own. Right. So, but Natural Aloha was really the catalyst that started to push me into energy work, because when I went to these big, like Made in Hawaii festivals and open markets, I would literally be depleted on all accounts. My energy was just, I couldn't do it. Made in Hawaii it took me a week and a half to 2 weeks to recover from all of the energy interaction. And I could literally feel my energy being sucked from all the people that I, connected with, because what I was literally doing was energy work. When they would tell me their stories and I would give them a physical remedy for the story, I was giving them energetic remedies as well. I didn't understand that, so it was really the catalyst for me to strengthen my own constitution and then also be able to expand my container so that I could hold space for people when I interacted with them. And back then, I didn't do a very good job at it because I didn't understand. So it's been so many years now since I have, I understand energy better. I understand how to conserve. I understand how to, not necessarily protect. In the early days, it was, all about protection, right? And now it's just about not absorbing. We're not here to absorb other people's energy. We're not here to heal other people.
Yes.
Right. That's something that when you're early on in this journey and you learn how to start to heal yourself, you get excited and you want to heal everybody. Right. And people have to choose it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And choosing what we choose to do today really does unfold what is going to happen for us next. And, that is the place that I come from now. I don't own people's stuff, not even my own children's stuff. I don't own, my mother's, whatever it is she's going through, but I can be there to support and not so much teach them through my words, but teach them through how I support myself every day.
Yeah.
And that is, I would say the biggest takeaway, my own learning that is now trickling down to the people that I work with or people that I interact with. And it just really strengthens all of us. Now we can operate from a place of, balance.
Yes, without without having to sacrifice, or what we we thought we had to sacrifice. And that's when we sat down and really the retreat was born. Right, was going through, us going through that similar experience. I mean, we just had a customer yesterday, right? And customers come in here and they feel safe, and all of a sudden they're just like letting all their stuff go because for the first time they feel safe.
Yep.
And so before, right, just like what Dina was saying, the only way we knew how to help was to absorb and help them. But like you were saying, it's a choice. And help looks different to everybody.
Absolutely.
Some people want a magic pill. We don't got that here. Some people want to give us their shit, you know, and we don't do that anymore because we know better, right? We know.
But we used to, like, I know I used to, and they would walk away. I feel so great, and I feel like crap.
Yes.
And it takes me how many days or sometimes weeks to recover. And, you know, I like to call that it's the savior complex, because they feel better and they'll tell people, oh, I went here and I felt better. Now everybody's coming for the magic pill. The magic pill is to our detriment. And it's not for us to own your shit. It's for us to help guide you so that you can, and healing looks different, right? Healing doesn't mean it automatically goes away. It may be shifting and learning that it's still going to be there in your face, but how you choose to react to it is going to be different.
Yes.
Right?
And the magic pill is not sustainable.
Nope.
Okay, because we've all done this work. So we're speaking from experience as people who's been through the ugly work ourselves, because we had to heal all kinds of stuff within us, and people who are now guiding others to do this work because it is so valuable, like so valuable. You know, if you are feeling like, God, something's got to change, like, I can't keep doing this over and over again. You wake up feeling the same way. Maybe it's time for change. And that's really why we created the retreat, you know, and we had been to so many others.
And, you know, like some of the things that we are using to support the energy healing sessions, whether it be tech or even just supplemental, you know, type of recommendations, these are all things that are meant to support, right? They're not meant to be that magic pill as we're calling it. Like, everybody wants to look at modalities like the hyperbaric chamber or even the PEMF table to solve all your problems, but you really got to dig a little bit deeper and reach that uncomfortable zone to really discover, you know, what are the roots of where this is all coming from, right? Like, why are my legs this color? You know what I mean? Yeah, we can be pointing out all of these different, you know, medical type of diagnoses that come with that. But what got us there, right? We can use all of these different technologies to help with it, and you'll see, you know, the visual changes. But what is the longevity of it? What is the retention of those type of gains? It's not until you do the deeper work where you're going to see a lot more retention of these gains.
Yeah, because really what we're talking about is the layers.
Correct.
Right. And most of us don't even know that there's
layers
upon layers. That I know this is going to sound a little weird, but it might not even have happened in this lifetime. But we brought it in from
that's a whole
different
nother
that's a whole nother podcast. You know. But you know, as we wrap this up, yes, you know, definitely, if you folks have any questions about the retreat, are interested, let us know. And, you know, for those of you who don't even live in Hawaii, you are welcome. And we're working on more of, you know, maybe like a destination healing.
Why not?
You know I say healing, it's really the ugly, but hey, you know,
the destination's pretty though.
The destination is pretty. The work might be a little ugly, but in the end, you're going to feel so much more aligned, so much better, so much more in balance. And if nothing else, just more aware.
Yes. So you can live.
That's why we're here.
Yes. So, you know, Dina, thank you so much.
Thank you guys
for the connection. I mean, really, like, it's always so nice to connect and get together. And we love, like, the retreat is one of our favorites.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Really, it is really one of our favorites. You know, we get to do work on our own, and, you know, we do our own specialties. And then when we come together at the retreat, it's magical.
It's always magic.
It really is. Yeah. But to wrap it up, you know, we have some wrap up questions. I don't know if you want to go ahead and ask Dina some of our wrap up questions.
Yeah. If you don't know by now,
yeah,
our wrap up questions revolve a lot around the name of our podcast, which is Optimize Your Now. So with that being said, you know, we always talk about native connection, right? and just healing through connection. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we talk about with all of our guests. So what would be that moment in your life that you discovered that like this was my healing connection? Like what is your native connection?
It really was understanding my energy body, understanding that what I was doing in terms of, living a life for someone else, being the nurse, being this physical being for someone else wasn't who I truly, was meant to be. So through the illness that I experienced, that connection, through that illness, I connected back to my healer self.
Yeah.
It was a painful time, but when I look back, had I not gone through that, I don't know that I would be here. I mean, maybe I would still be here, but I wouldn't be in this body healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally, and wanting to, share it with other people.
That's something that I noticed with a lot of the guests is, when you go through this vulnerable experience, right, and it exposes you, right, that's when we're starting to really notice like, oh, something's got to change,
or start to pay attention,
right? Or I want to, like discovering those means of change through that experience, right? Like creating that company that you did, her body company, Natural Aloha, right? And even just providing energy shifting sessions as well. And then with that being said as well, how do you choose to optimize your na'au?
I would say a previous version of me would have answered much differently than the me that's sitting here today. The previous version would have said, I optimize my na'au through helping others. The person who's sitting in front of you is really that I optimize by coming back to the self and really listening and going with the flow. Like this trip, I thought was going to be all about work, and it didn't happen that way. And I allowed myself to flow, and it's really been about healing some of those layers that have been underlying and keeping my body and mind, not in alignment. So coming back to the self and noticing when something that you said about people having these vulnerable moments, so many people are given the gift of awakening through illness.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't see it as
a gift,
right? They don't understand that this is a time to make changes.
Yeah.
If you don't want to continue down this path of illness, then what changes are you willing to make? Sustainable changes that you're willing to make so that you can live, because this life is a gift. And if we're not taking care of our bodies, taking care of our minds, then, what's the point?
Yeah. And the truth is on this plane, we are constrained by time, right? We don't have a lot of time here. And, these are some of the things that you can do to help leap yourself into where you want to be, get yourself out of, like Dina was saying, out of illness, out of dis-ease. It doesn't have to be a sickness or an illness, but it could just be, a state of mind, your environment, right? But it has to start, like how Dina was saying, you got to come back to you, got to start with you in order to shift the things around you. The things in you first got to shift, and then around you will shift. So with all of that being said, we thank you so much, Dina.
Thank you
for being here. Again, Dina Kaniho, who is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, energy shifter, healer, magical person. You can find her services on heal.me, and you can visit her website at imbalancewithinsight.com. hypnotherapy.com. We're going to put it on the show notes. And the products that she was talking about, we were talking about some teas, and her pit balm is on naturalaloha.com. You can also check her out on Instagram, where she puts lots of valuable content at in_balance_with_in_site and at Natural Aloha as well. You can also subscribe on Patreon. I don't know. Do you want to say anything about Patreon?
Yeah. So Patreon is something, newer. Truthfully, interacting on Instagram and Facebook, I haven't done as much over the past, I say, year, but I have been more and more interacting with my clients and, just people who want to find out more information on Patreon. You can find In Balance with Insight on Patreon. There's, free content. There's chat. I talk about the energetic weather. Like today, if you're feeling this in your body, it could be because X, Y, and Z. And, a lot of people will jump on and say, that's exactly what I'm feeling. And, we're all just looking for some confirmation out here, just so that we know that, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
And then I also have a paid Patreon where every Sunday I send out something called Soulless Musing, and Sunday is sacred for me. I use it to help rebalance after a long week, but then I also share messages with those who are a part of that subscription. And a lot of times it comes in forms of like free readings or group reading. Everybody loves the free individual readings, of course. So I try to do that, but it's really not up to me. It's whatever needs to be heard and experienced. So I would say check out Patreon. It's a good place for us to connect. And I try and give a lot of free content there just so that people have confirmation.
Awesome. Well, we're going to close this out. Thank you for joining in on our magical conversation. Yeah. That's the word that just keeps coming up. Where, we just talk so much about living, because that's what it's about. So mahalo for joining us on today's podcast. Aloha.
Optimize Your Now podcast is produced by us here at Naopono Wellness and edited by Jaren Kobashigawa of Tangible Memories. Subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram to discover more stories about healing connections and healing innovations. Aloha.